Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back to the Shadow Coaching Program. I decided to do this one live for everyone to sample it out so you could see what a shadow healing coaching program session looks like, right? Because it's a little bit different. It's not, I don't just do the reading, the oracle reading. We do an oracle reading, but we always do a topic. We start off with a topic because healing is about awareness. The number one spiritual disease is ignorance, and ignorance is that we just didn't know. And when you don't know, you can't make the right choices and the right decisions for yourself. So I always like to pick a topic, right? So today I wanted to talk about covenants because covenants are really they're all in every area of our life. They're not It's not just about like the like ancient times, like really where like people agreed to go into a agreement. We have them in everyday life. Sometimes they're positive and sometimes they're negative. And why I wanted to talk about covenants is because we see them playing out within our oracle readings. When I say I want to look at the spiritual blocks of shadows and see how they play out as karmic themes, well, those karmic themes are the covenants. It's like what are you living that's keeping you bound to, a lower energy, right? Covenants, again, run through every area of our lives. They thread through our family lines, into our romantic partnerships, friendships, and the wider circles that we innate, So they happen in our relationships. So if you're someone that's like, I just have problems within my relationships, I feel like, yeah, that was so weird. I made this like for a, like open forum tonight. I wanted to do it for open forum, not just for paid subscribers, so that people could see what a shadow coaching session actually looked like. I was running late. It came from the gym. Don't mind the way that I look. Um, and so, I'm like trying to do it. And as I'm logging on, it looked like it switched off. So I had to actually delete and then redo it. So it was just weird. A lot of weird energy. Anyway, glad that you're back too, and that you see. But I have a great topic, and I don't, like I said, it's about covenants, and I'm gonna, by the time, like, let me channel about the topic, and then we're gonna do we can do Q&A if you guys have questions, and then we're gonna do the oracle spread, obviously, to see how these covenants play out within your relationship and within every other area of life, because I can't answer you and then also channel at the same time. And so, and then people don't want to watch it then, because then it's like they're not, they came to watch that. So, like I said, I'll follow the protocol so that everyone benefits. So, as I was saying, covenants just run through every area of our life, every corner of our life, right? So, when we're talking about it, we're really talking about like our relationships, as I said. And what they are is they are agreements that we inherit, spoken or unspoken. Yes, unspoken or unspoken. So that shape what we expect from love, how we show up for others, and how we understand ourselves when conflicts arise. So they're not, it's the way that we can speak to each other, the way that we hear things. It's really, a covenant is an agreement that you agree to unconsciously. So a trauma bond would be a covenant. When we name and explore these inherited covenants, we begin to see how ancestral karma, like, it doesn't just like play out a little bit, it's weaved into our present relationships, often in ways that we don't fully recognize at first. So the good news is that awareness and intentional practice loosens old ties and reauthors healthier and more authentic bonds, which is huge because most people that have gone into a covenant with their relationships have trust issues. They have betrayal themes that have played out. Like karmically, when we're looking at the karmic themes, we're talking about, the themes that keep us bound to, and anything that keeps us bound to like pain is something that is bad. Now you can also go into a good thing, a good agreement, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, again, the shadows. So some families like don't intentionally do it. Some families just teach that loyalty means always putting other needs ahead of our own. So you unconsciously are always giving of yourself and you're never getting back. So you're reliving the covenant of you're not worthy, you're not good enough. So always of lack. And that'll play out as, again, not emotionally getting what you need or financially getting what you need. Right. And it's, again, it's how those thoughts have been programmed, while others like tend to like prize independence and self-sufficiency as the highest virtue. Now these inherited commitments become the soil in which our identities grow. So again, when we're talking about the second chakra, we're talking about our unique individuality, who we perceive that we are. So if we have covenants, we know that a lot of times we're connected to things that are codependent, that are not keeping us bound to like becoming our best self, our true self, right? It's keeping us bound to like that lower energy, because what it is, it's like they provide a lot of times resilience and a sense of belonging, when they're formed, because a lot of times what covenants are formed during crisis. So again, it's not what happens to us. Remember, the karma is how we react to what happens to us. We don't have control over what happens to us. So a lot of the covenants were made on situations that we weren't conscious of. Is so, but they constrain us, and they keep us, again, like in that same karmic loop. Anything that constrains our authentic self-expression, or creates invisible expectations that govern how we should feel, behave, or relate to power, money, and just care, like they are emotional needs. So we want to always understand how the covenants play out, and so that you can then once you have awareness, you can see. Otherwise, you don't understand. When unspoken rules about gender or success and emotional expression persist, so they seep into our relationship, shaping how we listen, how we prioritize, and how we actually respond and react to what is happening. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because what happens is what it's really how we respond to vulnerability, often without us even realizing why certain patterns feel familiar to us. You know, in love relationships, covenants are manifest as vows, obviously, right? So shared values can be like good agreements, obviously, but when it's an ancestral pattern that colors like what we should think, it tends to be a negative one. So we want to be able to, again, notice when we're going into these covenants. And this easiest way to see is like anything that binds you to, you know, like stepping out of your true authentic self. And you might say, I don't even know what that is. But anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, anything that doesn't allow you to have your unique unfoldment process. And so a lot of times, like I said, like you might have been taught in an environment that taught you that love meant that you had to sacrifice and that you had to put up with bad behavior, and you say, well, you don't know how to break that karmic contract, but understand it's through doing different things, creating different mindsets. So I always say to journaling. Journaling is the best way, because you'll notice when a karmic theme continues to play out. And that karmic theme could be unworthy, not good enough. It brings shame, guilt, any lower energy that makes you feel stuck. Understand why is that important? Because the whole point in shadow healing is to integrate those parts of self. So, what tells us again is what's happening, what's present, what are the recurring karmic cycles, the same triggers, the same models of communication that tend to escalate rather than resolve, right? So, if you get into conversation with the person and you're like, well, I get into relationships with people and they don't know how to communicate. So that could be I'm re-entering into like a karmic covenant with a person that's avoidant, someone that is most likely, if they're avoidant, they don't have a problem betraying you either, because it's almost like they don't have a conscience, and they don't have a conscience because they're detached. And so again, a covenant could be, I grew up in an environment where I was taught that I was not worthy, I wasn't good enough, and I was not deserving of. And so unconsciously, you were programmed that. This would be like a generational thing, a generational ancestral thing, a lot of times, meaning that your parents grew up that way. And understand it was mainly because they were born into a society that told told them that that's what they were. So their anger, their repressed anger and resentment, is passed down to generation to generation to generation. So when people say, oh, that's a generational curse, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about, you inherited these habits and behaviorisms from your parents that keep you bound to a lower consciousness, that makes you feel as if you can't have, that makes you feel that there's something wrong when there's really nothing wrong. It's the perception of, because again, the environment taught you. So the whole thing with a covenant is, again, it's when we're talking about a negative one, because there are positive ones, but the negative ones are ones that bind you to these karmic themes that, really disempower you. So to imagine living a lifetime of shame, that means you're never going to be loved. You don't like yourself. You're always wearing a mask, because people can't walk around feeling that the way. Everyone has an ego part of self. It's part of our survival mechanism to have that. It's not a bad thing. It's bad when it overruns the spirit, the higher self. The higher self is the God part of self, which is made of unconditional love. When we are in that energy, we're open to receiving. We're able to be a magnet for the same energy. Covenants prevent that, the negative ones. Like you can see covenants when people get married, right? And they have vows. So any vow is seen as a covenant. Is so the thing is, if the person breaks that, and it's in marriage or whatever, then there are spiritual consequences to that, because if it's out of alignment with the laws of the universe, the laws of love, the laws of God, the laws of nature, and the laws of the universe are all the same thing. They all run only one way, and that's because we all have a spirit part of our of self. And when we are in alignment with that, we are in alignment with a covenant with the universe, which is what we're supposed to be, because there's no separation. And so in order for us to be able to really gain the fruits of our spiritual sovereignty, which is to be able to manifest the life and the life experiences that we want to have. Covenants that are negative bind us to, ancestral karma, family karma, um, just and collective karma. And so sometimes what you'll see is there's so much that it plays out. So what you see right now, what's playing out on the planet, is these lower energies, and these lower energies that bind us to a place of feeling victimized, not having enough, like a lack, which is out of alignment with our true self, out of alignment with the abundant universe, because there is no separation between you and the universe. So why is it happening? Because of these karmic covenants. That's why. And that's why you also see the negative relationships then play out, because that keep bound. So you can't control anyone, but you can control yourself. Remember, it's never what happens, it's always how we react to what happens. This is why body mind work is really important, because habits and behaviorisms on how we dealt with traumatic experiences, we're programmed on how to respond. So to react is bad, because you'll react the way that you always reacted, and you'll be bound to the same exact experience, because again, it's about being confronted a lot of times karmically with the same exact experience, but doing things differently so you can see a different version of yourself, since there's no separation between us and our creator. However, it's a consciousness, and it's the consciousness that keeps us bound to these covenants that are gonna, that really, when we're talking about the spiritual war on consciousness, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, and it's huge, because when you take away your spiritual sovereignty, you take away your magic, you take away your supernatural power, and that comes within your unique individuality. And that can't be if you have shadows, because the shadow is where grief is, and pain, and victimization, and betrayal, and all these lower energies. Well, you can't just get rid of negative energy, but people then become that within their identity. And that's why I wanted to talk about covenants, because they play out continuously within our relationship. The karmic experience that we see manifest is because of, again, the consciousness. So how can you break a soul cycle contract that isn't serving us? Well, it's to first know exactly what that is. You have to be specific. What is that karmic contract? Is it one that obviously binds you to a person? Is it an attachment? Isn't it, because then understand on some level you went into the connection with a karmic agreement. Every karmic, covenant, there's an agreement. The soul has agreed to. It's like a lot of times we know. So sometimes through the experience in order to fully learn it. You know, that's the whole point of karma's a bitch. Like, because you get pain from going through that. So it's first to be specific on what it is that you want to break. When the soul cycle contract, you can break any contract, because you have spiritual sovereignty. You have God inside of you, which is the energy of love. It's the energy of source. So, okay, so the chronic pain, and so that is, if it's physical pain, is it emotional pain, or is it all of the above? Usually, unfortunately, emotional pain eventually turns into physical pain too, because your body is your mind's faithful servant. So people are stuck in being unhappy. So I would say yes, because again, someone like you that might have fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is an autoimmune system problem. And so when there's a sense of not trusting yourself, to not believing in yourself, not loving yourself, like holding on to past pain, again, remember, we can't just get rid of it. We're the alchemists of our life. You have to put something in its place. That's it. Because God will say that's a no form to learn and to manifest. The whole point of learning is to see yourself differently, is to get a different outcome. So healing is something that happens over time. Well, and that's the thing, the chronic pain and past life karmic made. So it's again agreeing to be bound to like to agree to agreeing to it, agreeing to not be deserving of love. And it's like, because that was a karmic program that you grew up with, that was the environment, that was the perception. And so, not deserving. And so, are you conscious of it? No, you're not conscious of it. No one agrees. What happens is like you don't even realize. So, let's talk about how that plays out. That plays out as overgiving, being too nice, not setting boundaries, not valuing yourself. So again, continue living victimization, and where it's like people betray me, I don't do anything. Understand, the universe brings you what you need, not what you want. So if you don't honor and love yourself, well, God finds offense with that, because the kingdom of heaven's inside of you. If you can imagine it, you can create it. So part of you is actually imagining like not good experiences. And the brain will do this sometimes because it says, well, I don't want to be disappointed. So let me shoot for less. Again, the brain will always say, let's do what's safe. And the soul will always say, let's do what feels good. And you have to do what feels good and what feels right. And you can feel that in the gut, and you can feel that in the heart. And so, you have to understand too that finding yourself is an unfoldment process. So you have to be gentle with yourself. You have to be like childlike. Children go out and they just find themselves. They don't have an expectation of how it's supposed to look. Find something that's going to connect you. But I feel like you're a sensitive soul, and that sensitivity tends to prevent you, stop you. See, sensitivity is a double-edged sword. What'll happen, you'll, you can be very psychic, but then stop yourself. A lot of paradoxals in that energy, and that's because you weren't really allowed to have your unfoldment process. Someone was always telling you who you were, or what you should do, or who you should be. And all that is why that is, so you can break the covenant, but you have to become yourself. It has to become from the heart, really. It's like it's the karmic theme, and the karmic theme is whatever plays out. So let's see how it plays out within the oracle spread. Since you got a little bit of idea again about covenants within relationships, you can see, like, again, people that struggle with boundaries, self-care, like all of that is like what you want to look at. Self-care meaning, like, again, take time out, find yourself, have a love affair with yourself, take time to like get strong within yourself. Thank you. Yeah, I felt that you needed this healing tonight. That's why, like, hey, if I'm on live and people need a healing, I'm going to give it to them, regardless of whether or not like people fall off because they don't want to listen to to the advice. But I this is a healing channel. So, we always see the same karmic themes play out, right? All right, let's actually take a peek and see what is happening. Okay, so again, the underlying energy is opinionated. It's opinionated, but I want to pull one more. It's going to be live. It's going to be. So it's always going to be there for you. You didn't have to retract that. Negative, neglect, neglect and self-neglect. Well, still connected to somebody that cares a lot about what other people think. And, they're opinionated, but they're like, I felt negative because they are negative. There's someone that's like, well, I'm not going to give you anything because, I feel as you didn't treat me right and you should act a certain way. I feel like you said something to this person that was very accurate, but it was the way that you said it. So it's like they're being very prideful and they're being very prideful. So they're neglecting you, but really what happened is they're neglected themselves because they had opinions about you that were not based on truth. They were based on perception. And so that's the underlying energy. So I feel like you're in separation from someone that's like, actually like, this is the energy that I feel like the person's like, I'm not going to give you, but really they're hurting themselves because I feel like there's a part of you that's like, do whatever you want at this point. What happened is that like this person like hurt the trust in the relationship. They hurt the trust in the relationship. And the thing is, when this person gets angry, they want to be soothed. They want to be babied. It's like they want to be able to talk to you however they want to talk to you when they're in a bad mood. And I feel like this person took something out on you. And whatever they heard that you said, they heard it through distorted perception. So, and what this person did was, well, now I'm mad, so I am going to ghost or I'm going to just not talk to you. And where you just felt invisible and like, and that's what this person wanted to do. It's like, they were like a baby, like a big baby, like I feel him like pouting and then being like, well, I'm not going to talk to you. Like, and that's the thing. This person, like, it's like controlling, very controlling. It's like they want to be soothed, they want to be babied, they want to be treated like a king or queen while they treat you kind of like, well, you know what I mean? And the thing is, of course, you felt judged because every time you like spoke of your feelings and your emotions, you were overreacting or that you were needy or that you were acting jealous, like, which it's like you emotionally not getting what you needed from this person. So, they're talking to other people, they're like, and not talking to other people in a way like romantically, but they want to trigger you to make it like, well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Like, like they're not as connected to make you a little paranoid about what's going on in the connection when really it's not that this person's purposely doing that, was purposely trying to make you feel insecure as a way of controlling it. Like, again, like they had time for everything else, but they're not going to have time for you. So again, it's a way of keeping you subservient. It's a way of making you feel like you're not deserving. That's a covenant. Again, being in a relationship with somebody that's very one-sided, where you're emotionally not going to get your needs met. And so you might have grown up with a parent that you saw that, like my dad doesn't give my mom emotional love her, but it could mean that it just show up. So this person, and what happened over time is that this person lied one too many times to you. And you're like, you just had enough of their lies and deceptions. And that's the thing, when a person emotionally doesn't get close to you, they don't have a problem like lying and betraying. And it's really because of the trauma. It's like this person has a lot of unresolved trauma. You have unresolved trauma because you wouldn't connect to this. And that's the thing. What you see is it's just you already lived through it over and over and over again. So you know that that's what a karmic covenant is. It's like it's a karmic loop. That is what keeps you bound. That's how you know, like, there's an agreement. And so what is it here? And here it's like that you're not deserving. Now that doesn't mean that you don't know that you don't, that you are, but it keeps you bound to the pain, because you have to say, how am I agreeing to this? Because remember, you can't be in one unless you're agreeing to it. And so we're going to look and see also what this person thinks, because a lot of times the person you have feelings for, that they have feelings for you too, but they're not healed. And so that's the problem. So I needed a drink. And I'm like, I think that makes me more thirsty. That seltzer water, you know? All right. So let's see. I feel like I don't deserve your love. I'm worried you'll leave me when you see who I really am. So again, I'm going to wear a mask. So you don't really ever know who I truly am. And I'm not going to get close to you because I'm wearing a mask, and I don't like me. So if I don't like me, you sure as hell are not going to like me. So that's the covenant. Like, this person is like neglecting themselves. They're thinking they're neglecting you because they need you to chase them and to coddle them and to make them feel important and to make them feel like a king, while you're treated like a secondhand citizen. I was gonna say, and I don't know what that actually means, but treated like, like an average, like, I could take you or leave you, when meanwhile this person feels like they don't deserve you. So it's like it's their trauma, and that their trauma means that they need to live it, because you being attached to somebody that is like that, that's a covenant. That's what you're in. And so, again, please contact me. I may not respond. I may not respond like that, meaning, but you need to reach out to them because their heart's not open, where it's like you need to make them feel secure. And that's like, again, that's how your relationship would always be. You having to prove yourself while they don't give anything because they're afraid you're going to leave. But how did they play it out? They don't play it out like, oh, I'm so sad. And what they played out is an asshole. Like, I have time for everybody else. You're going to feel like you're forgotten about, like you're not important. It's like because of their insecurity. It's again where, what can you do with that? You can't do anything with that. There's a lesson to be learned. Yeah, the lesson is the karmic covenant. What is it? And that's what you've agreed to on some level. Now, you agree to it purposely? No. But it was the program that you lived, where this person can't seem to make up their own mind for themselves either. They're not strong within themselves. So they have to ask everybody their opinion, what they want, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. So there's somebody that needs you to chase them and also ask people about what they should do in their relationships and what they should just do in life. So where's their identity? Where's their, again, if a person acts like that, they have a lot of trauma. It's like there shouldn't be. They should be able to make up their own minds, because otherwise you're going to be with a person that is going to change their mind like they changed their socks, because all over the place. They're accessing past life wisdom, and it's helping them to understand things with a new perspective. I think that this person, has never been healed before, has never looked at anything from a spiritual perspective before. All relationships are like, again, when they're talking things out of their mouth and afterwards they don't even know why they said them. So again, there's someone that's very worried about what people are thinking. Like, and you know, they have a problem being transparent. They have a problem letting you in because of how they feel about themselves. So you see it. I'm afraid you're going to meet somebody else before I'm ready to be with you for good. So whatever this person is like, I want to be with you, but I'm not really ready to do what it needs to be with you. So, and that's why it's a back and forth. Like, I'm going to hold on to your energy, but I'm not really going to give you anything, you know? And the thing is, this person feels you pulling away and it triggers them. So what it looks like is every time that you're really ready to walk away, and then this person's always going to run back. But that's what it will take for them to come back. And then when they don't come back, they don't really give that much. You know, it's not enough. So the covenant, which is what we were talking about, is being bound to a person that emotionally is not capable of giving, is, and when they give, it's so small, really. It's not a lot, and it's due to their pain. And so you're a mirror of whom what comes into your life. Well, thank you. I'm just channeling. So you, like, again, what it'll look like is just fights that never get laid to rest, and just storms of love. Make up to break up, because is there a connection? Yeah, there's a connection, but the person's spiritually off. They don't like who they are. So the moment that they really let their guard down and let you in, then they get freaked out, and then that's why they do what they do. And it's because I don't really believe that you'll stay. And the thing is, this person tends to, like, you know get caught up in the romance, but then it just feels like it's a fling, because it's like, where's the depth of it? Well, they can't really go that deep if they don't like who they are, right? It's like, but it doesn't mean that they don't have passion for you. It's like they have passion, but their mind is not healed. So, and you have to say, you're a mirror of whom what comes into your life. So maybe there's aspects about you that you don't like, and that's also part of the covenant that you need to look at. Like, what is it that you don't like about yourself? What is it that you believe that you don't deserve? And it's, again, turbulent. And it could be, hey, I grew up in that type of an environment where everything was turbulent, and now I get myself into these type of relationships that are always turbulent for me emotionally, because there were never strong roots. And the strong roots are, like, again, the foundation of who you are, but it's also tends to be where you came from. So you can't go back in time. It's about you creating the strong roots for you. It's like, because then it's attracting a person that doesn't have that is a sign of that. And that because there's people that have a lot of barriers, just from their past experiences. They can't let you in. They don't like who, they don't believe that you would stay. But again, it doesn't mean that they don't have feelings. People have feelings. It's just hurt people. Your best friends, what you'll see is get triggered by jealousy, get triggered by anger, get triggered, but it doesn't mean that they don't like you or want to be your friend. There's that dust part of self, that's the ego, and there's the deity part of self, which is of love. So when you meet a past life karmic mate, a lot of times they feel like a twin flame. They feel like your person. You enter into a covenant because you don't see everything. A lot of times you're not seeing things from that perception, but we see what we look for. And so what happens is those things are subconsciously also there, meaning how you were brought up affects you and affects every area of our life, tends to continue to play out within our life. until we actually confront those things. And that's why I was saying, you know, person that has like shards of love is just the past trauma. And that's where detachment, disassociation comes in. You're dealing with an avoidant. You're dealing with someone that will not have a problem betraying you also because of how they feel about themselves. So, I mean, that was pretty harsh reading, but then you have to say also, well, what's the whole point? And it's to say, well, why would you attract this person into your life when it's this type of energy of, oh God, I never want to go through another one of these type of relationships ever again. Well, you have to look at the spiritual, the inner child wounds. You have to see what was the karmic themes that continue to play out within your life, and then how you contribute to those imbalances and how you must transmute that negative energy. You're the alchemist of your life. You can't change anything until you change internally what's happening, right? So we look and we see sometimes it's not just wounds, sometimes it's gifts, right? So, you know, like sometimes it's positive, a lot of times it's positive. You know, you can't be like, it can't be all the time, because if you're in the trauma, you aren't creating yourself. Okay, let's look and see what the inner child wounds are. Okay, innocence, outdoors in nature, overwhelmed, rage, suppression, abandonment, belittled, and cleansing. So this energy is really like empathic, you know, like you're highly sensitive. Right? So that innocence, so it reminds me of like childlike, right? And someone that has cleansing energy is someone that has very healing energy. So healers are made. They're not, you know, they're not born. They're made from the environments that they grow up in, you know. And so outdoors in nature, there's really like, yes, there's a therapeutic style to it, but you may find that you don't not enough in outdoors in nature and you're not grounded as much as you should be. But it is, again, going to be very therapeutic for you to be outdoors in nature, because there's a lot of empathic energy, like I said. And again, empaths that are highly sensitive are not usually born. Highly sensitive people are born, but the empathic person is usually again made, and that's the healer. So I feel a lot of wounded healer energy, and we say, well, what creates that? Growing up in an environment with a parent that's full of rage, that talks to you like downward, like you're not deserving, like kind of a little bit like a bully, a parent that's so bully, and they what it is that your unique unfoldment process, because you just didn't feel safe. It's like that parent was just angry with their own life. So any little thing could trigger them. And so again, you said it was a form of suppression, like of it was safe. And that's so, but in that there was abandonment of self, and abandonment of yourself. And also because, hey, there was no parent. There was no, if the parent's so full of rage and that's where they are, they're not giving you support. So again, that emotional support. So a child that's continually overwhelmed. So overwhelmed is overstimulated. And that's what I was saying with the highly sensitive child that grows up in that environment. See, we can be born sensitive, but then the environment from living in survival mode makes us even more sensitive. But sensitivity isn't good. It means overwhelmed makes you not safe within yourself, makes you not feel safe. And so that, especially if again that parent was a bully, you know, again or as a child, what do you know? You don't know anything. You're depending on that parent that's, not making you feel safe. So it was the way that you were brought up and that environment that we see the covenant, which is, abandonment, and having a person that will act self-righteous. I mean, belittled energies, someone that talks down to you, someone that, is not just someone that's going to bully you, but is condescending, someone that's, gonna, like make you feel less than. And that's what this person did. That's what they did by trying to suppress you. But spirit saying that's the karmic covenant, cycle. You break that, so yourself differently again, and that's by first releasing the limiting beliefs that no longer serve you. That are all in the mind. Remember the consciousness. One day heaven will be on earth, but that's through the character of man, and that's through changing our consciousness. And then Spirit says, and transform, turning your fears into strength. As you step into your power, you find the profound change. So to become who you truly are, it's again those perceptions from that environment that you grew up in. And really, Spirit saying it's time to live authentically and boldly and unapologetically. Be bold. It's like find yourself, have a love affair with yourself. And it's again, pour yourself into the things that fill you up with love, Spirit says. Then the universe makes a way out of no way just for you. Then you're living your bliss. Spirit says you're not living some narrative that you're not deserving of because you live that narrative. You have to put something in its place. Otherwise, you will continue to attract the same thing. Release control. You're not in charge, God says. God says, not in control. It's again, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Just go out and have fun. Find yourself. It's again, the path will unfold. You're not in charge of how we get there. You can have success, but you're not in charge of how we get there, and you're not in charge of how long it'll take. So it's a faith walk. But go out and have fun and find yourself, is what Spirit's saying. Be the energy of love by giving and receiving of love. You'll attract all that's abundant, and understand it's passion for life. It's a second chakra in balance. Chakra is your unique individuality, who you perceive you are when you look in the mirror. There because of the way that you were brought up. Your sensitivity being overstimulated, you don't get good results when you're overstimulated. Then you looked at yourself as if there was something wrong when there really is nothing wrong. It's if you were wound up like a clock. So we have to look into doing what we can do to heal. Understand, you might say, oh, I don't have a passion, or I don't have. Spirit says you start where you are, and you start with what you could do for yourself then, and what you need to do to heal, and that the path will unfold from there. There are mistakes, and you have to integrate your healing first, is what Spirit's saying. It's like you still have friends by again, and I felt like it's due to your sensitivity, and that do body mind work, do breath work, do like yoga, do like Tai Chi, do different, join a holistic community. You're a highly sensitive person. Do things that are going to support you. There was no support. It's again, you have to reparent yourself. You also have to have a love affair with your own life. Find yourself. And then when you're in this high vibe, you feel good. You connect to your own tribe because everything happens organically. It's like, and it's the way that it's supposed to happen, and that's the whole thing. It's like you might need to do affirmations every morning as well, but it's also doing body mind work. Like I said, that's because the trauma is held within the body. There's a lack of groundedness, is what Spirit's saying, and that happened from childhood. Understand, when you heal that, what you do is that you, all the energy, it opens back up, because really spirit is chi, is prana, is spirit. God's ubiquitous. That spirit is that what air that gives us life, right? It's the prana that gives us life. And so when we have spiritual blocks, it's really difficult for that prana to circulate through us, so it can't work through us. So spirit's saying, like, when you clear that and integrate that fragmentation, you're going to have a lot more energy, because that negative energy holds you down. That person would have just fed more and more and more and more to that energy of negativity, because again, they're in a negative vibe. Spirit says part of your healing requires you to go into the unknown, where where you can find yourself again. Like, you don't really know who you are until you find yourself, and that's the thing. And you can't heal in the same place that you got sick, spirit says. So take bold action in every direction. It doesn't matter. It's just about taking a step out of your comfort zone, and that's the thing. So you can really see what you're made of, and not the narrative of what other people said that you are, and realize that you're a strong person. Look at how far you came along. And that, understand, you may say, well, I feel really lonely, and I feel, because that will happen as you ascend life, because what you're doing is you're letting go of who you were to become who you are. And so certain people are not going to resonate with that, who you were, I mean, who you are now, because you're moving up to a higher vibration. You're loving yourself, doing for yourself. This energy was pretty much the same energy that you grew up with. And so spirit says, yeah, that's what a covenant is. It's like, it's an agreement that your soul made, and it's one that made you feel that you weren't deserving of, because of this parents programming. But this parents programming was how they were brought up. So it was an ancestral covenant, and that you have to break it. And the only way that you can break it is to, again, like, let go of who you are. But you can't do that until you put something in its place. Spirit says there needs to be more you. Again, take a jump into the unknown, like the spirit saying, transformation, release those negative thoughts. And a lot of times we can't do it until we see a different version of ourselves. But look at things from a more spiritual perspective, is what spirit's saying, not from a physical perspective. Because, like, when our parents were like that, well, it's not going to logically make sense. It's going to seem not fair. You're going to get caught up in in all the lack and the pain, where really spirit's saying, become yourself. When you become yourself, you'll be so happy. You'll feel so abundant that you'll look at your parent, and you'll look at the other people, and you'll say, oh, you didn't know any better. Like, you chose to live miserable, where really it's like, that's what it is. It's an agreement. When you get caught up in those negative karmic covenants, that's what you're doing. You're agreeing to be, like, not happy, and the behaviorisms are in alignment with that, where really the only thing that's going to change that is you co-creating with God. Really, that's the only way. And that's through the universe, co-creating with the universe, because the universe has the same energy as God's energy. And so the universe says, I know the energy that you need to revert back to, your original energy, to restore you. And that's the energy of unconditional love. So I'm going to bring you everything to help you get there, including people that bring you back to that inner child wound, to help you break that karmic contract, that agreement that you agreed to unconsciously due to the environment that you grew up in. And so when you do that, you say again that on some silent way, you agreed to be bound to like a person that, kept you in a lower energy. So you have to create the support, because every day is not gonna you're not gonna be like, oh yay, like confident. You have to create that support, and know that it's an unfoldment process, but anyone can heal from it. We're not bound. We have choice. We have free will. Thing is, karmic covenants and karmic contracts can feel comfortable, just the same as codependency can feel comfortable to people. Like, I'm happy this way. I don't have a problem this way. But the thing is, it's over time people have a problem with it, because we're not meant to stay the same. We're supposed to grow. We're supposed to evolve. The soul needs that. But when something keeps us bound to that, it's like it may be good in the beginning, but then what happens is it can't go with the flow of life. We wind up not, then we harbor like resentment and other negative energies. So that's why it's important. It's like I said, to not get into anything that's like that. And so pull one more, which is thank you. And then faith. Couldn't ask for a better one. I am confident I will achieve my goals. I live in the present moment. That's a key too. It's like I said, grounding was an issue. And trauma will do that. Trauma makes us disassociate and disengage from our physical body and the physical world. So Spirit's saying, it's like, remember, you're in physical form for a reason. Get back into your body. That's why I said body mind work, breath work, things that are going to help you ground so that you can really achieve your goals and have faith in the future. Faith is a bridge that connects you to what you sow, to what you reap. So you don't want to like plant negativity. You want to plant like things that are going to bring you happiness. And that's the thing. Firmly believe in your value within the universe. So you attracted this person because you didn't believe that you had value. Your spirit's saying you have to have belief that you have value and purpose in the universe, that you're not here by mistake, you're here by God's design, and that you're supposed to be figuring that out, not caught up in trauma of what you believe. Like anything that prevents you from finding yourself shouldn't be in your life. That's one way that you could say, if you say, I feel like I just can't recognize when I get into a relationship with somebody that's negative. I tend to think that they're, have good intentions, and then they don't have good intentions. And that's because you're too close up to the picture. And we can tend to see what we want to see, not what's really there, especially if we're on empty. So, again, being the energy of love, by becoming what you love, automatically sets boundaries, because you're not going to always have time for the person. The path unfolds while you're on it. You're meeting different people, situations, experiences, which teaches a person not always around, value me because I value me. And then you're able to set the appropriate boundaries. And if a person isn't giving you equal give and take reciprocity, the relationship automatically dies, because your cup is always full. That's the thing. When you're not living life, but there's still fragmented parts, which is what I saw, then you're still going to feel like, I went through all this with this person and I still have so much hurt, even though I don't want to be with them because they're a horrible human being. You know what I mean? But it's like there's still a loss in emptiness, is what I'm saying. Like, people feel like there's a hole, and that's because of how much you gave, how much you wanted within that connection, and where Spirit's saying you have to do that for you. And the way that you do that for you is you have to find it, like if you don't know what it is. And if you do know what it is, you need to feed it more. because it's not enough. If you have to do enough that a path actually unfolds, and that's by being consistent every day, then your choice of focus is on where you want to go, your dreams, imagining what it could look like instead of like what might happen, what could happen, what did happen. That's the thing. It's like faith happens from being on that faith walk and seeing the universe bring you, again, everything that you need to heal. Otherwise, you can't heal on your own. That's the whole thing. It's like because you're not in charge of how you heal, you're not really in charge of, how you manifest what you want to manifest. You can manifest whatever it is that you want. You're just not allowed to say how or how long. And that's because your healing comes in what the universe brings to you to help you heal, that you wouldn't heal and do those things unless you were getting something out of it. So again, if you're creating something, something that is a dream or a passion, a hobby, an interest, again, a passion, well, you're going to do it then. Even though you don't want to do it, you just kind of get tricked into it from the universe because the universe says, well, I'm going to make you do it because I want you to heal. I want you to heal, and you wouldn't do it on your own. It's like you try and heal on your own, but we tend to, want to be more comfortable, is what Spirit's saying. So this was to help you to heal, even though the person was harsh. It's because you grew up harsh. So everything boils down to you being able to heal so that you know your value, your worth. And once you know your worth, well, then you're not going to settle for less. You're not going to put up with less, is what Spirit's saying. Which one is this? Focus. No, I didn't want that one. I want this one. I'm just going to pull two. There is no one like you anywhere in the universe. So Spirit's saying it's your own individuality. Like you're one of a kind. You're not here by mistake. You're here by God's design. And it's, again, that you're unique. And it's to find that within and cultivate it inside of yourself. People a lot of times say, I don't know which way to go. You start where you are. You don't become somebody else. You become who you are. Don't underestimate your ability to solve this problem. Again, is what Spirit's saying. Like, again, you might be overstimulated by it. Take time out to meditate. The answers are within. And really, Spirit's just saying is take your power back by claiming full responsibility for your life. And that really is perfect for this. Whereas it really, Spirit's saying it's like you're in charge. Being connected to a person like that anyway, or a person that's angry and resentful and whatever, is what you're doing is the only way that they win is if you go along with it. And so Spirit's saying you break the karmic covenant by saying, I'm deserving of more. I'm deserving of more, and I'm gonna prove that by having a love affair with myself and just seeing how the path unfolds. Because one thing that's for sure is gonna unfold organically, meaning that everything's gonna feel as if it's where you're supposed to be. Like when you're connected to things that are out of alignment, you can always feel it, is what Spirit's saying. I'm going to leave that there. Does anyone have any questions? I always like to do a little Q&A after I do, the oracle, usually when I'm doing my coaching. See, I wanted to give you guys a sample, and that's why today's topic was covenants, and we saw how the covenant played out within the oracle. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me. If not, I know I already answered for you, Sarah. And I'm glad that you resonated so much with this video. If not, I'm going to run. I'm going to go. Peace out, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.